Welcome to The Explainer. If you're a master's student, you know the feeling all too well. You've spent months designing a survey, you've collected all your responses, and now you're looking at this mountain of data. You know, the biggest challenge isn't just analyzing it, it's being able to defend it. So today we're going to build a guide for turning that data into a rock-solid thesis.
So let's picture it. You've done all the hard work, you've got your 200 responses, and now you're just staring at a spreadsheet thinking, okay, what now? It really feels like the analysis is just beginning. But here's the secret that the best researchers understand. The most critical work for a credible analysis actually happened long before you even got your first response.
And this right here, this is the key insight for our entire explainer. We're going to completely reframe how we think about survey analysis. It's not the last thing you do. No, it's a process that is woven into every single decision you've made right from the very start.
To build a thesis that you can actually defend, you need the right tools. In professional survey research, there's a gold standard. It's a framework designed specifically to anticipate problems and ensure quality. It's called the Total Survey Error Framework, and it's basically your blueprint for creating research that will stand up to your committee's toughest questions.
You can think of total survey error as kind of like a pre-mortem for your research. It's a comprehensive checklist of everything that can go wrong, all the little things that can introduce doubt into your results. And by understanding these potential errors up front, you stop just reacting to problems and you start proactively designing them out of your study completely. The TSE framework is really built on 4 cornerstones. It starts with coverage. Are you even sampling from the right group of people? Then there's sampling. Does your chosen sample truly reflect that population? Then you face non-response. This is a big one. Are the people who actually answered your survey different from those who didn't, which could skew your results? And finally, measurement. Did your questions even work, or did they just collect flawed data? Each one is a potential crack in the foundation of your thesis.
So how do we defend against all these errors? Well, it all comes down to smart, deliberate design. We'll start with probably the most fundamental decision you have to make. Who exactly are you going to survey?
This single choice literally determines the power of your entire thesis. See, if you use a random, probability-based method, you earn the right to generalize, to claim your findings represent the wider population. But if you use a non-random method, like, say, surveying your classmates just for convenience, your conclusions are strictly limited only to those specific people. You have to be prepared to defend this choice.
So, once you've settled on who you'll ask, the next big battle is against measurement error. This is the risk that comes from what you ask. And this error, it's sneaky. You could have a perfect sample, 100% response rate, but if your questions are confusing or they're leading or they're just too vague, the data you collect is going to be fundamentally useless.
Just look at this real-world example of measurement error in action. When Pew Research asked about military action, support was high. But then, when they added one crucial piece of context, the potential for casualties, look what happened. Support just plummeted by 25 points. This is so profound. It proves that question wording doesn't just measure opinion. It actively shapes it. And beyond just the wording, the very format of your answers is another critical design choice. Are you trying to measure attitudes? Well, then you'll probably want to defend using a Likert scale. Gauging perceptions? A semantic differential is the right tool for that job. In your methodology chapter, you have to justify why the scale you chose was the most valid and reliable way to capture the specific data you needed. You'd never stage a play without a dress rehearsal, right? Well, your survey is absolutely no different. Before you launch it, you have to pre-test your questionnaire. It's really the only way you're going to catch those confusing questions and design flaws that are totally invisible to you but will be glaringly obvious to your respondents.
And just to be clear, this is not optional. This is your primary defense against getting bad data. An expert review validates what you're asking. Cognitive interviews confirm how people are actually interpreting your questions. And a pilot study, that stress tests your entire process, from recruitment all the way to data entry. Skipping these steps is one of the most common and, frankly, most fatal mistakes a student can make.
So, all that rigorous work, thinking about error, carefully selecting a sample, pre-testing your questions, it all leads to this moment. And because you've built such a strong foundation, you can now approach your data with real confidence. This is the payoff.
The analysis itself follows a really strict workflow. You always start with data cleaning. That means checking for impossible answers, deciding how to handle missing values, and making everything consistent. If you have open-ended questions, this is also where you'd start your qualitative analysis, like coding text for themes. Only after your data is totally clean can you move to descriptive analysis to summarize what you found. And then, finally, If your sampling method allows it, you can perform inferential analysis to test your core hypotheses.
Understanding this distinction is absolutely critical. Descriptive statistics simply describe your sample, the average score of your 200 respondents, for example. But inferential statistics, like a t-test, that's where you try to make a much bigger claim about the entire population. And you only earn the right to cross that line, from describing to inferring, if your sampling method was random and robust.
So before you run a single t-test, you have to stop and answer this question. Look back at your methodology. Did your sampling method earn you the right to make inferences? If yes, great, proceed. If the answer is no, then your intellectual honesty depends on limiting your claims to describing only the people who responded to your survey.
Okay, let's bring it all home. Remember, the goal was never just to do a survey. The goal is to produce a defensible thesis, and that means shifting your mindset away from just describing what you did and toward arguing for the quality of your work. This is the crucial mindset shift. Your methodology chapter is not a diary of your steps. It's a closing argument to your committee. Your job is to persuasively argue for your research, justifying every single choice you made. You can use the total survey error framework to show them that you anticipated the threats and you deliberately built a study that produced trustworthy findings.
So as you write up your research, ask yourself this: is my methodology just a list of steps, or is it a defensible argument? When you frame it as an argument, when you don't just describe, but you defend, you elevate your work from being a simple student project to being a genuine contribution to knowledge. And that is how you turn data into a degree.